And Krueger, that's Larry Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn. More than a week into free agency, and the Niners have definitely improved their team. They still have a lot of work to do. There are glaring holes remaining in their starting lineup. But before we get to how they're going to fill those holes, I want to ask Larry his opinion on what the Niners have done so far. Let's start positive. What is the position that has improved the most in free agency for the 49ers?
I mean, getting Oso Digizua in his prime was not. I didn't even view that as a possibility. So I got that one right there. Just picking off the Cowboys. The Cowboys kind of painted themselves into a corner. It's not that Odigizua is Mean Joe Green or anything, but he's really really good, and he's 27. And if you look at his skill set and kind of the way he plays the game, and look at what the Niners have right now with Alfred Collins and CJ West, I mean, you could say he's almost like the hand-picked perfect complement to them. He's a pass rusher. He's a penetrator. He heats up the quarterback. They don't. They play the run. They keep their shoulders squared. So on paper, it looks really, really good. So I would say Odigizua in his prime for a third-round pick. Now, a third-round pick could be Joe Montana. So it could be a franchise-altering pick. Or I was going to say it could be Cam Watson.
Danny Gray.
It could be Jake Moody. Yeah. So and not only that, the Niners have struggled in this round for whatever reason. So you know what? They need they're doing pretty. Let's just take the emotion out of it, back away, give them a real clinical analysis of the regime. What I would say is, they've botched the hell out of the first couple days of the draft, outside of the Bosa thing, which was basically handed to them. But they've saved their bacon with a couple really good trades and some amazing post-draft stuff and some amazing day 3 stuff. So, it should be on paper easier to get it right. You're doing the harder part better, and you're doing the easier part worse. So maybe don't take so many gambles in the easy part of the draft. And this is a little bit in that vein, right? There's no gamble here. You're getting a very good player in his prime that's ready to roll at 27. And not only that, I talked to Brad Sham, the voice of the Cowboys, and he's like, this guy's one of the best people on the team. So, I mean, it's a big win for the Niners.
They should make trades like this more often. I mean, they get in trouble when they trade up in the draft or when they trade away guys like DeForest Buckner. When they trade for proven vets in their prime, they've done very well. Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams. This is by far my favorite move of the offseason for them. It's their best move of the offseason. I feel like a lot of people think Mike Evans was their best move, and maybe he will be, but Mike Evans is going to be 33 in August. This guy is 27 and has never missed one game in his whole career. So I love that. When I asked John Lynch at the combine, what is the number one thing you want to focus on to improve first and foremost? He's like, the D line. Our pass rush was awful. And he called his shot and he came through. You add Osa to Bosa. You got Bosa and Osa. That takes you from the worst pass rush in the league to a good one. And now I feel like they're one edge rusher away from having an elite D line. And we're going to talk later about who they should get or how they should go about it. But I think, again, you had they had arguably the worst D-line in the league, especially at rushing the quarterback by the end of the season last year. And now this is a team that could be, they could put Sam Darnold on his ass.
Right. I mean, and you're looking for difference makers. You can find a guy to fill a hole. That's what Kalia Davis is. That's what Jordan Elliott was. And I love those guys. Those are good dudes. I mean, I love talking to them, but they're more space filling type players. You need difference makers. And, that's the thing. I mean, I think Osa is more of a different. Yeah, he's a difference maker. He's a pass rusher, and he's high octane. The stat that I loved, and I don't have it in front of me, but it was a list of the best interior players that got pressure on the quarterback after being doubled. And he was like third on a list of the top 5 guys in the league. And Jeffrey Simmons was on this list. So he's just really, really good. And now you're adding him to 2 really hardworking young guys. But now you're putting a guy in the room that can really get to the quarterback. And if Bosa's healthy, doubling 2 guys on one line is really difficult to do. And so it's just, I think this is you might see Osa go have, like, he was great with Dallas, but didn't have a lot of sacks. You could see his sack total double here.
here's what I don't understand. Dallas had a great D line like a couple of years ago. They had Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Oso Odighizuwa, and got rid of all of them. What's I guess who cares about the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, they don't
I
pick
guess my
well. I mean, they
question is
took Mozzie
why did they
Smith in the
trade
first
Osa in
round
particular? Why?
because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I
this is
thought.
this is a group that took Mozzie Smith, who couldn't play dead in the first round out of Michigan, just because of his workout. I mean, he had a great workout film. He was on the Bruce Feldman. He was the number one guy on the Bruce Feldman freaks list, but he
Yep.
couldn't play football. And it's like they took him, high. So in this case, they actually painted themselves in a corner. It's almost kind of like, like you're playing fantasy football with your buddy and he doesn't
Mhm.
check the bye weeks and he like makes too many wrong pickups and overloads at one position and then has to give away like a really good player just to put together his lineup. That's the Cowboys. I mean, that
Yep.
is so the Cowboys. They had Micah Parsons. All they knew, it was like a series of events that led to this. All they knew was they didn't really want to pay Micah Parsons all that money. Then, like, they decide they're going to pay him. Then they're like, you know what? They're going to trade him. And then they trade him, and what can you get? Well, Green Bay's willing to give up Kenny Clark. Okay, we like Kenny Clark. So now you get a defensive tackle back and a bunch of picks. And then you're like, we got itchy. We got to do something with the picks. All right, we're going to trade the picks. What are we going to get? Oh, another defensive tackle. So, like, literally in a series of like a couple maneuvers, Jerry and his idiot kid painted themselves into a corner where they either had to undo what they just did, and nothing looks dumber than that, or they had to get rid of Grant. Osa actually had better numbers across the board than Quinnen or Kenny Clark last year. So they're actually moving off of their best defensive tackle if you look at the numbers.
Okay, so that's a big win for the 49ers. What about the position that took the biggest step back in your eyes? Given that they can always address this in the draft.
Position that has taken a step back. Well, I mean, they have nothing at tight end. I mean, you have Tonjes, and then I don't see anything there. So I mean, to me, I think you need a significant player at tight end. Unless Hayden Rucci, I can't say that I've ever seen Hayden Rucci. So if Hayden Rucci
just wait till Luke Farrell gets his second year in the system. Just wait.
Yeah, year 2 of Farrell. He just to me, Farrell. It wasn't that he wasn't a good receiver. It was that he wasn't a good blocker. And he just didn't seem, I thought he was going to be like a real commanding, strong line of scrimmage blocker. And he wasn't. And to me, Charlie Warner was more dogged and kept the legs moving. So he was like more of a try-hard guy, more of a bulldog. So I was hoping Farrell would be like a big space eating, almost like another offensive lineman. No, he's not. And then they used him. I mean, what were the odds that they would use Farrell and Kittle in more 2 tight end sets than Tonjes and Kittle when it's obvious that Tonjes is the better player? And that was the 49ers. They didn't use Tonjes and Kittle together. Have they done it yet? If they have, I didn't notice it.
No, it didn't make any sense. I'm going to go a little different direction here because I think the Niners, I don't know if they got worse at tight end. They're still the same, and they're still kind of thin, especially with George Kittle out, which is why they could take Kenyon Sadiq. But I'm going to say they got worse on the offensive line, which bugs me because I feel like it's their weakest position, and it's the one position the Niners are adamant, really doesn't matter. And it's not that Spencer Burford was so good, but he's 25, and he's a starter, and he stayed healthy, and he's gone. And I don't think they replaced him. I think Brett Toth is replacing Matt Hennessy as the backup center. I think Verdarian Lowe, Toth and Lowe seem to me fine backups for the money, but not starter. You could start them, but they're not starters. So right now the Niners have 4 starting offensive linemen. I wouldn't consider Connor Colby a starter. Ben Barch doesn't seem to be coming back. I don't think he's a starter either. I would hope they're going to draft a guy as early as round 1 or 2. That's what they did with Aaron Banks. But as of now, they have 4 starters on their offensive line, which troubles me.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, as we get closer to the draft and they go through these different free agent maneuvers, there's some positions you think, okay, maybe it's less likely they're going to draft, like linebacker, and maybe there's other positions like offensive line where it appears that there's maybe a little bit more likely they're going to draft people. I will say this for you Niner fans who are trying to figure out, like, who are the Niners, which offensive linemen do they like and who will they draft? Remember this, they really love the 10-yard split guys. They love the guys who are quick. They love guys who can run off the football. So they really love guys who have. So a lot of the talk about Caden Proctor. I don't know, man. I mean, Caden Proctor's just jumbo, and he could be awesome, but he's not the Niners type of guy. As far as that's not usually what they go for. Last year they wanted one of those Raider guys that went to the Raiders. Those guys really kick butt. Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant in the 10-yard split in their 10-yard shuttle. So just with that in mind, I mean, go look that up. But I mean, like J.C. Davis, who went to McClymonds, who played at Illinois, he had a really good 10-yard split. Emil Wagner from Notre Dame, he had a great 10-yard split. Micah Morris from Georgia had an amazing 10-yard split. The two tackles that had good 10-yard splits were Blake Miller and the INHer from ASU, who could be, the two guys that they're looking at in the late first round. So I do think it will be, go look at those numbers, the 10-yard split guys. I will almost guarantee you that if they go with an offensive lineman, it's going to be from that list, guys who are among the leaders in the 10-yard split.
The thing that bugs me about the offensive line is, like, you'd think that with Brock Purdy here, this would be something the Niners would want to solidify, not just for now, but for the future.
Right.
And not
build
only
a fortress.
Your left guard. What's that?
Build a fortress around this guy. You've got your guy. Do what the Eagles did. You think, is Jalen Hurts awesome? No, I think we're finding out that he's not that awesome. In fact, Brock Purdy could be better than him. But Hurts has a ring. Purdy doesn't. Why? Hurts had an awesome offensive line and a killer runner. Brock is a killer runner and a poor offensive line. If they upgrade it, he's got a shot at a ring. I mean, it's really as simple as that.
The Seahawks invested in their offensive line. They've drafted all of those starters, two in the first round. Darnold didn't miss a game last year. He stayed upright. He won. He's not the greatest quarterback in the league. Maybe if you put Brock Purdy behind a comparable offensive line. And so right now you got no left guard. You got a center that isn't good, no matter what the Niners say. A right guard who we'll see. I mean, he had a down year last year, but he was hurt. The right tackle's good. And you haven't worked it out with the left tackle yet. So can you get serious on the offensive line, please? What is the plan with Trent Williams? In 2 days, you give him $10 million cash. Are you going to give him that and then let him hold out and not extend him? You're not going to trade him, clearly. Are you going to give him an extension? What's the plan there?
Well, I mean, you kind of went right by they're not going to trade him, clearly, but I don't know. I mean, is there any kind of poly market odds on that? Where can we find out what the odds are on that? I'd like to see the odds on
Mike
that.
Evans and Christian Kirk. I'm like, okay, so you're going all in with the
right.
1 year.
It makes sense. I mean, if you're going to go for Mike Evans, you should be in the market to re-sign Trent Williams, right? It's just logical. But we also know that they're at a fork in the road. And it's like and they've already gone. Last year they had a mountain of dead cap, 103 million, third most in the NFL. If they go down this road with Trent right here, and as you say, not just sign him but extend him, you potentially could be looking at a mountain of dead cap, or he could walk away and retire, and you could be fine. But and then you also have a player who's 38 and has played 18 years and is probably not getting any better. I don't know. I mean, he's not in the mood to take any kind of a pay cut, that's for sure. I'm not saying he should, but at some point it might be in your best interest to, especially if somebody who's actually willing to give you something in return. I mean, that's the question. We don't really know. I mean, if it's just cut him or pay him, then pay him. But if it's cut him, pay him, or trade him for something, what is that something? And what does your team look like with that something? So there's some variables there that we just don't know, but I would say it's probably they'll work it out and they'll extend him, and because they have no leverage. It's like the storm's coming, and they don't have a storm shelter.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
That's the problem with the Niners as a front office. They don't plan ahead. You saw the weather report. This was coming from a mile away, and then it hits, and you're like, oh, damn it. We forgot to get a left tackle last year. We clearly need. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Are we going to give him what he wants? Are we going to trade him? Are we going to do nothing and circle back in September? Let's just circle back in September. That's what they always do. You wait and you wait and you wait and you let other people set the market, and you create bad blood with your player. He misses time. You create drama. He comes back. It's not ideal. And they made a point of avoiding this last year, right? They were like, we got all of our extensions done before OTAs. Brock's here. George is here. Fred's here. I think this is going to just drag on, and that's too bad.
It's gonna be interesting. There's a couple wild cards going on here. One, you got Kansas City that has openly loved Trent Williams forever because they realize what he is. Now, is Kansas City interested only in, hey, if you cut him, we'll sign him? Named Esapole, who is pretty good, and you could take that player and maybe some form of a draft choice and get down the road. And yeah, you're not going to find Trent Williams, but you at least don't have an older player there, and a lot of you've got a draft right now that you could go draft a left tackle if you wanted to. You could devote two couple picks to drafting offensive linemen if you wanted to here. So you got that as an option, or you can sign him. And then the other team is Houston. It's like Houston is, CJ Stroud is not very good right now, or at least he wasn't in the playoffs. And they're saying, hey, it's not CJ. It's everything around him. So they brought in David Montgomery, but they just lost Titus Howard, and they don't have good offensive tackles. And D'Amico may give you, they drafted Ariante Ursary out of Minnesota last year, and he played okay. He played okay. Would they trade Ursary and some pick for Trent Williams? They may, because D'Amico doesn't have what Shanahan has, as far as he doesn't have forever and a day and an owner who's just going to be like, yep, we'll extend you. D'Amico's got to actually do it. So
does Shanahan that's another topic for another day.
We can talk about that, but I mean, D'Amico's like every other coach in football. He doesn't have the kind of kind of lifespan that Shanahan most likely has. So Shanahan can do what he wants. D'Amico's got to be a little bit more urgent. And I think they may, if Houston's super urgent, they may say, you know what, we'll give you Ursary and a 5th round pick for Trent Williams. And the Niners may look at that and say, this is our way to afford the Joey Bosa's and any other player that we want to try to get, Maxx Crosby or anybody else that could come available. You can't get that player unless you can somehow extend your budget, which they're not going to do, or lop off one of your big, high priced items, and that could be Trent. So I think it's open minded. I think he's likely back, but I something is about this seems like I gotta think that the 11th hour trade is at least 10% chance.
I also think there's a 10% or maybe a 30% chance that we're talking training camp holdout. 11th hours extension.
That'd be terrible.
That would be the worst thing to if you're going to give him an extension, do it now.
Right.
Don't wait until he misses training camp to give him what he wants. Like, please don't do that.
Though training camp for a guy like that is, I know. It means something, but it's also more exposure to potentially get hurt. So you never know. I mean, it's like double-edged sword. But yes, I mean, typically you'd want all your players there for camp if possible, even if he doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
As long as if he's there at the meetings, he'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah. All day, every day. Kim says, Larry, do the Niners really got their guy in Brock?
Well, I think they do, but they're in a good situation right now because I really like Mac Jones too. I think, I'm a believer that they got two really good quarterbacks they can win with. I don't think either is Josh Allen or either is going to Canton, but I think Purdy's a good young quarterback, and I think Jones is a good young quarterback. And to me, that's another interesting thing. Do they trade Jones? And to where? Arizona, Pittsburgh, those seem like the only possible avenues. Or do you keep Jones? And if you keep Jones, then do you extend Jones? And then what does that say about Jones if Jones does an extension here? Does that? I don't know. That's kind of a weird situation. But I I think it's a good situation because I think both quarterbacks are really run Kyle's system well. I think you're seeing what Kyle saw in Mac Jones. He runs Kyle's system very well.
I think Brock needs to play most of the season this year. If he has another 8-9 game season and misses half of it with some injury, the Niners are going to wonder, can we pay you $53 million a year? We love you. You're good, but you're also breaking down. So I think there is some pressure on Brock Purdy this year. Although if they would just improve their offensive line, there would be an expectation that he would play 17 games like Darnold just did. The Real Lyrics media says they need to get the best player available rounds 1-2. And if they fill needs such as edge or safety, then perfect. They can't just focus on need. I believe that's why they've whiffed so much. I completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like there should be like, before you list like the Niner needs, it should say great effing players. And then under that, you could have, what, I don't care if the guy plays, except, no kicker, no punter, now in these days, I didn't think that would, in the past, that would be like obvious, but now I think that almost needs to be said. No kicker, no punter. Okay. But go after a great player. Let me give you an example, Grant. The Niners pick 27. I'm looking at Tankathon right now. Their board, right? They've got the Niners going with Caleb Lomu, who's I like him. He's a tackle from Utah. He moves his feet. He's a little light. But a couple picks later, they have CJ Allen from Georgia going to the Patriots at 31. CJ Allen is like he's like the Niner linebackers. He's like the Warners and the Greenlaws and the Bowmans and the Willises. I mean, he's a blue chipper, 3-year starter, awesome production, amazing speed. Great guy. They say he's really, really smart. This guy is spectacular. Now, this is going to be a Pro Bowl player. You're going to pass on a Pro Bowl linebacker just because he's a linebacker because you want to get some other position. You want to, so that's what I mean. It's everybody always says best player available until we get to the draft. And then it's like, hey, man, the linebacker position, I think, is one of the easiest. Linebacker and running back. If you're a great running back, you're a great running back. I mean, there's very few guys that are great running backs and then go to the pros and they're like, they suck. And if you're a great linebacker that makes tons of tackles and there's tons of range, those are the easiest guys to project into a 3-4, 4-3. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. You're a stack backer. You run and you diagnose, you key, you fill, you hit. And this guy, CJ Allen, is awesome. 88 tackles this year for Georgia. He plays on one of the best teams in the best conference, super blue chipper. And he's on this mock, at least. They're overlooking him for Caleb Lomu, an offensive tackle who, if everything goes right, will what? This one bugs me because this guy's a 6'5" or 6'6", 313-pound offensive tackle. So if you saw Caleb Lomu, he's very lean. He's thin, Now you can have him play left guard in the NFL. And it reeks of an ACL en route to this guy becoming your future long-term left tackle. So I don't know. You got to be really careful on this offensive line.
Real Lyrics Media, you're asking me, why do they not go best player available? To me, the problem with the Niners and what Balky didn't do, you have to draft for need if you don't address all of your needs in free agency. And we're going to talk about the individual positions right now, but you don't have a starting left guard. You don't have, I guess you have a starting free safety, but you don't have a starting left guard. You don't have any replacement for Bryce Huff. Those two things are glaring holes. Yeah. If you sign someone at both spots right now, if you sign some edge rusher, you sign some guard who can start, has some experience, you could do whatever the hell you wanted to do in round one. But you've put yourself in a position where you have to have day one starters who are rookies. You can't wait until round 4. So we know right now, unless they sign someone else in the next couple of weeks, they're absolutely taking an edge rusher and a guard with their first 2 picks. Have to, which sucks. You should be in a position to react to the way the board falls because you don't know. That's how I feel.
I mean, you're right. It does suck. It's okay as long as you pick the right guys. Pick the right guys. That's really it. I mean, that's really it. It's not just get a guy. See, when you say we got to just get a guy at our position, you wind up with Ricky Pearsall.
Right.
You
right.
wind up with Maxx Williams.
Yep.
You know, here's the other thing. The guy who made the pick, John Lynch, went with Maxx Williams. The defensive coordinator who probably will have the pick this year,
Morris,
went with Jalen Walker.
That's right.
You know
yeah, the Niners passed on Jalen Walker. Now they're looking for Jalen Walker. Isn't that
right? I mean, and not only that, I mean, I will say this, though, what's really kind of encouraging to me about the draft coming up, if you're a Niner fan, is that Raheem Morris came off a year where he took Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman at safety, two really good young safeties, and then took James Pierce and Jalon Walker at edge, two really good edge rushers. Now Pierce might go to prison, but beyond that, there's four really good defensive football players there. Maybe Raheem has a good eye for talent, and maybe that's why he got
partly
the gig.
why they hired him. Potentially,
might be why he got the job.
Lamont says should have kept Ross Dwelly at this point. Adam Peters was better than Lynch. Fire him and get real GM that checks Kyle Shanahan's ego. Doesn't even make good picks in free agency. Is Adam Peters doing a good job in Washington? I don't know.
Signing a lot of free agents, man. I mean,
it's Kinlaw like $50 million. I'll never. Hey, good for Javon though. Ezio Sanchez says, is Brock a top 8 quarterback? Don't think so. Is Mac top 20? I think it's hard to put Brock top 8 after the injuries he's had the last couple of years. He has the potential if he could stay healthy. I do think Mac has the potential to be top 20 if he could get an actual starting gig. So possibly, potentially.
I would say they both sit between 10 and 15. I
think that's fair.
And I think they're really, really close. I mean, I think they're really like, I think Purdy's better because of the movement ability, but that's when he's taking care of the football, because Jones also has some really great strengths, as we've seen.
That's true. All day, every day. Kim says, Larry, that's the problem to even think Matt could be better. Brock is a $53 million quarterback with questions. Your backup looks just as good and threw more per game. What I will say to defend the 49ers is while the average per year is 53 per million, it starts low and escalates over time, and they can get out of it before it gets really, really expensive. And right now, he's still relatively cheap. I think his cap number is like in the 20s, which makes, he's not even the most expensive player on the team. Trent Williams is. Just want to say that.
You know, it's funny. It seems like time goes on, but a lot of these themes seem to repeat themselves. I mean, Young and Montana motivated each other. Jones and Purdy are not Young and Montana, but they do have I think they do kind of motivate each other. I think Brock helps Mac be better. I think Mac's presence guarantees. I mean, look how well Brock played when he came back in.
Thank you. Great point.
I love that competition. And then like the Niners used to use the quarterback position to trade off guys and get more assets. If I'm Shanahan, I make sure Curtis Rourke has a golden trip through the preseason. And if he plays pretty well, maybe he's the quarterback that you trade at in September.
In 2022, Brock had Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo breathing down his neck. In 2023, he had Darnold breathing down his neck. In 2024, he had no one breathing down his neck. They won 6 games. And last year, Mac Jones, I think it brings out the best in Brock Purdy. He's a competitor, and he's not freaking Patrick Mahomes yet. He needs to be pushed like this. And you know what? Like you said, Joe Montana needed to be pushed. I think people are real eager to trade Mac Jones, but I think that the quarterback dynamic the Niners have is one of the best in the entire league. I'm not saying Brock's the best quarterback in the league, but to be able to have 2 quarterbacks who are both top 20, name another team that has that. And yes, sure, you'd rather have Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, but even Mahomes got hurt last year. Josh Allen's the only real Superman out there. Burrow got hurt last year. Lamar got hurt last year.
There's something really icy about Mac Jones too.
Yep.
He's very, and you know what? Yeah, he's got the dad bod with the gut. You know, he looks like he could be one of your golfing buddies.
Yep.
But then you know what? He's accurate as hell. This guy is accurate. Did you see that? Did you see that clip the other day, Grant, where he threw? Was it a shot glass at a gong?
Yeah.
I mean,
all day.
That's all day. The guy is accurate. I mean, seriously, that guy is very accurate. I think it's the key to the key to their dynamic is keeping this as long as they can. Now that I think about it, it's like keep this going as long as you can. Why? Because if the personal dynamic doesn't work, then it doesn't work. And the personal dynamic does work. Mac Jones is just a goofy enough kind of a guy where he can kind of lead when he's in there and be kind of chill and like laid back when he's when he's not playing. I mean, he's like granted, he's a unique personality. He found a way to lead these guys and not have anybody. There was no animosity, no like bad vibes. Not once did he say one thing wrong. And the guy was icy. I mean, to me, he's I would extend him if he's willing to be extended. I would try to extend him.
Can't get right 929 says Thomas from the Sooners will be a Parsons type rusher. R. Mason Thomas, I like him.
Yeah,
but I'm just getting into these guys.
Yeah,
we'll talk about him in a minute.
It's tough.
Can't get got you. G30S. I don't even says what's your record prediction for next year? I don't make my record prediction until I see the schedule. I'm gonna hold off on that.
I mean, double-digit wins. I'm gonna, to me, I think, I'll clarify as we get closer, but I'm confident. I've already seen the opponents. I'm gonna say double-digit wins.
What do you do with Mac if Brock does good this year? What can you do? You got to let him go and hope he gets a big contract and get some comp pick. That's what you can do.
Yeah,
you're not gonna tag him.
No,
I'll tell you that.
No, but he does become kind of the guy that is, behind if broken glass, if necessary break glass, he's the quarterback that everybody's gonna. It sets up perfectly for the Niners to actually get, if they want, maybe a very good deal at the deadline. You never know. You never know what quarterback's going down and how desperate a team may be, because a lot of times you're talking about the livelihood of these coaches.
All right, let's get into the rest of the show. Let's project how the 49ers are going to address clear, obvious, glaring holes that they're not going to have when the season starts, starting at edge rusher, speed rusher, the Bryce Huff role. They were going to cut him anyway. They were going to give him $17 million this year. But he was good early in the year when Bosa was out there. He was an important part of their defense. I don't think Maxx Williams can play that position. I think they need someone to replace Bryce Huff. And if it were Maxx Crosby, I would pick the Niners to win the Super Bowl. It's not going to be Maxx Crosby, I don't think. How do you think the Niners are going to go about replacing Huff?
I think I could see the Joey Bosa thing happening, and I could see them going for two defensive ends, one on the first day or two and one on day three. I think they'll bring in three guys. I could see them also trading for Greenard. He's still out there, especially if that price tag comes down. So there's some interesting. I think you're going to see some trades. Like I told you that a source early this offseason told me that Ricky and Renardo were likely to be dealt, and I still kind of feel that could happen. So we'll see. If it happens, it'll happen in and around the draft. But they'll have some. I think they'll make some trades. I'd put the over/under on Niner trades during the draft at 2.5 and go over.
If the Niners trade their second-round pick for Jonathan Greenard, I think that would be the best thing they could do. To me, it's like you did that in 2019. Though. Remember when they traded their second-round pick for D Ford?
But he was broken. He had a bad knee.
He was broken. I don't think Greenard is broken. I think he's a good player. And if you put him on a D line with Osa and Bosa and Maxx Williams and Keon White, I think you might have something there. I'd like them to, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think like you said, one of the reasons they hired Raheem Morris is they saw what he did in the draft last year, what the Falcons did in the draft last year, and they want that. They're saying, okay, you got 2 killer edge rushers. We got none last year. We passed on both of the guys you took. Can you come over here? Can you work that magic one more time? And at safety as well. Those are 2 big positions they need to address. I'm guessing they're hoping Raheem Morris can do it 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it seem like Joey Bosa, though? I mean, with Nick redoing the
I don't know. When his mom starts putting stuff out, that kind of makes me feel like it's not happening, and she's trying to, get the public to ask for it to happen.
I think,
does he really fit what they're looking for? I mean, Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., Leonard Floyd, those were the edge rushers in Atlanta last year. They're all like 245 tops, guys who can drop into coverage. In that system, I think Joey Bosa is like Michael, more like a 5 technique.
I mean, are they going to go with some 5-man fronts? I mean, the one thing about Joey Bosa.
Bring back Floyd.
I mean, Floyd's been everywhere that Morris has been. He's a good player. But the one thing about Bosa.
10 sacks on the Niners?
Joey Bosa could play almost any of the spots. So, I mean, it's like you could put him almost anywhere. You could put him inside if you wanted to. I mean, you need some fearsome guys and you need some depth there. if Raheem Morris has got the eye, if he's the guy that picked Jalen Walker and James Pierce, and he's got a great eye for it, then you know what? Let's go, because there's a group of 10 of these guys: Cassius Howell, Zion Young, Gabe Yakis, Malachi Lawrence. Yeah, I mean, R. Mason Thomas. I know the Niners have a
Malachi Lawrence. Yes,
Malachi Lawrence is a beast. Yeah, he's crazy. He had 7 sacks.
Do you have a preference? I know Matt Barrows likes Cassius Howell. He's great with the draft, and usually has a draft crush.
I mean, Cassius Howell was a great player in the SEC for A&M, 11.5 sacks. Really, really great. He's short arm, though. He's another short arm guy. So do you go?
Niners keep bringing in A&M guys, though. Mike Evans, Christian Kirk.
Yeah, they love the A&M guys. I mean, I'll say this: Cassius Howell is a nice player for sure. I kind of like Gabe Yakis from Illinois and Malachi Lawrence from Central Florida. And the Niners are bringing in Romello Height from Texas Tech. Chris is a big Texas Tech guy, and Texas Tech has a bunch of guys. To me, that's the other guy I'm looking for. Chris is a big Texas Tech guy, so he watches them all the time. So he's got to know that Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker from Texas Tech, is maybe one of the best linebackers in a while. So he will be interesting to see if they and he'll probably be there in the second round. When they pick. I don't know at what point they're going linebacker, but he is probably one of the best.
Okay. I really like the guy from Oklahoma, R. Mason Taylor. He's really small. He's like 6'2", 240. He's had some injuries, so he's right up the Niners' alley. His get off is incredible. He can I saw he can reach up to 12 miles per hour in his rush, and he can turn and flatten, and I think that's the kind of athlete they might be looking for. I know he ran a 4.67 with
short arms as well.
I don't think it really matters.
Little short arm, 31.
Not Cassius Howell short, but yeah, short.
No, 31.6 on the arm length for R. Mason. He's a little on the smaller side. I mean, he's tough though. I mean,
he's definitely on the smaller side.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy who produced almost in every game. I mean, this guy.
He really produced. I think they should get someone like that, not someone like Mykel Williams, where you're like, well, if you just get Chris Kasarik, let Chris Kasarik get his hands on him, and just was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want a guy who actually has pass rush moves already.
Cassius Howell, 30.2 arm length.
Oof,
so yeah, he's got short arms too. But Ruben Bain's got short arms, and he's a bad freaking, he's a bad A. So the short arm thing matters because and the guy who's got the long arms is the TJ Parker from Clemson. And he's got a pretty good long arm, rush. But to me, I like, if you want guys who are going to sack the quarterback, go look for guys who sacked the quarterback. I mean, here are the guys who had the big sack totals. David Bailey had 14.5. Messidor had 12.5. Cassius Howell had 11.5. Gabe Yakis had 11 sacks. Derek Moore from Michigan, another one. He had 10 sacks. The guy the Niners are meeting with, Romello Height from Texas Tech, 10 sacks. The guy that you should take a look at.
I like R. Mason Thomas. He had 9 sacks as a true junior, 20-year-old in the SEC. I like stuff like that.
I'll give it to two guys that are listed outside the top 150 that I think are really good rushers. Nadame Tucker from Western Michigan. He had 14.5 sacks, and I saw him in the All-Star game. He's just tough. He's just this tough. He's 6'2", 250, nothing crazy. And then Caden Curry from Ohio State, 6'3", 260, kind of like their 2025 version of the Bosas. He had 11 sacks this year for the Buckeyes and 66 tackles. So Caden Curry is a high motor, day 3 guy. Not blessed with tons of athleticism, but he's a nice rusher.
Let's talk cornerback. You've mentioned that you've heard that the Niners are looking to trade Renardo Green.
Yeah.
This is kind of strange to me because I think Renardo Green is a good player who could be very good in the right system. I'm not sure the Niners have the right system for him. They knew they were a zone defense when they drafted him. They knew he was a man coverage corner when they drafted him. He's good in man coverage. He's not much of a playmaker in zone. I don't think cornerback's a need, but as you said, the Niners don't really have a true shutdown number one the way that a lot of great teams do. And now they have a new defensive coordinator who might want someone else. Do you think that they're planning to replace Renardo Green with maybe a first-round pick?
Maybe. And Grant, it's funny when you look at the board of corners, it really lays out where they're going to have their pick of a lot of really good players, like really good players. The LSU kid Delane is going to go really high, like maybe in the top 10. And then McCoy from Tennessee is going to go high as well. Even though he's had injuries, he's going to go high. The other kid, Colton Hood, I think is also going to go pretty high. The Tennessee corners, and then Terrell, Avion Terrell from Clemson. Those guys are all first-round guys. I think they could go in the second round. But where the Niners at 27, they're going to be looking at Brandon Cease from South Carolina, who's just an awesome athlete, 6-foot corner. South Carolina's got some of the best athletes in the country. He's a really good player. He had only one pick this year, but he's a really good player. Chris Johnson from San Diego State is a terrific player. I mean, and not only that, his production was terrific. 4 picks, 9 passes defensed. He had a sack. He had 50 tackles this year. He's 6 feet. He's very physical. He's tough. But then at the combine, I think he had the most of the lifting. He was one of the fastest in the 10-yard split. He had great testing numbers. So, I mean, Chris Johnson is the total deal, and he's going to be there. D'Angelo Pons from Indiana. Now, I know he's 5'8", but guess what? Your best defensive player is Upton Stout, and he's 5'8", and this guy's better than Upton Stout. And I love Upton Stout, but this guy's awesome, man. D'Angelo Pons is a great player. Keith Abney from Arizona State is just a spectacular, cocky corner, super in-your-face, dominant player. He was a former roller skater, a speed skater. He's got great athleticism. And then Keontae Scott from Miami is another 6-foot corner, just dominant player. Couple picks this year, 64 tackles, great player for the Hurricanes.
Could he play safety or is it nickel? Is he a little Jimmy Wardish?
Yeah, I mean, he is kind of a Jimmy Ward type player. He's a big time player. I mean, he can play anywhere in the secondary. He's super cocky, tough. Keontae Scott, he had a pick 6, I believe, in the college football playoff. I mean, there are other guys as well. Traden Stukes from Arizona is a big corner who tested really well. Ohio State always has good corners, and they got a kid named Davison Igbinosun, who's, really big, like 6'2", 6'3" corner. He had a couple picks this year. So, I mean, there's some good corners for sure. Will Lee from Texas A&M is a very talented corner. I think he had a 42-inch vert, high recruit, good, tackler. Chandler Rivers from Duke is a tiny little super, kind of like D'Angelo Pons. I mean, he's 5'8", 185, but he's great. I mean, he's truly great for the Duke Blue Devils. So there's a lot of guys. And then if you want a tall corner like the Seahawks, Washington has a guy named Takario Davis who tested great. He was a 6'4" corner, really long, rangy guy. So there's a bunch of them in this draft. Cal's got a corner. Hezekiah Masses is a pretty decent player. Stanford has one too. So it's a corner, I think, is going to be an important spot for the Niners. And I do think they could go round 1 corner Chris Johnson.
I just don't like it. To me, it's not a need. Maybe it's best player available. And if you get a freaking stud at corner, then by all means, because you haven't drafted a corner in round 1 since I was in freaking middle school. But you're creating a need by trading Renardo Green potentially when you have a needed free safety, you have a needed left guard, you have a needed defensive end. I'm not saying they won't do it. Bringing in Raheem Morris, he definitely wants his own guys, and maybe he looks at Renardo Green as just not a fit for him in any way. But are you sure you're going to draft someone who's better than Renardo Green? Because he's pretty good. He gave up a passer rating of 80 last year. So it's not that easy. I mean, maybe you get someone different who has different strengths and weaknesses, but he'll be a rookie. He may not be better than Renardo Green right away, and you do have other needs that you'd be – again, I think you need someone who can contribute right away at defensive end and right away at guard. But, hey, maybe they think Vidarian Lowe is their starting left guard, and maybe they think Sam Okwanu is their designated pass rusher on third down.
I mean, the one thing, if you look at the 49ers right now, they do have pretty good depth at corner. I mean, with Renardo, Stout, Lenore, and then you've got Luter, And then you've got Nate Hobbs, who you just signed, and Saron Neal's a corner, and you like Jacob Robinson. I thought Jacob Robinson played well. He's expecting to have a real shot to make the roster. I mean, that's seven corners right there. That's pretty good. If you can go to camp with 7 NFL caliber corners, that's not bad. So it's not like the cupboard's totally bare. You're right. They have, I mean, you look at some of the other positions, like, is linebacker in need? You have Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, but Greenlaw gets hurt. Warner's coming off an injury. Winters is like, I don't know. Bethune's kind of, I'm not sure. And then you got special teams linebackers like Gifford and Wallow. I mean, you got Nick Martin coming off the most mysterious rookie year. It's like the Niners may not need a linebacker, or they may really need a linebacker.
Yeah. Let's talk about Lenoir for a second, though. You say the Niners don't have that number one corner. Well, they're paying him to be that number one corner. And I respect Robert Saleh. I never agreed with how he used Lenoir. You put him on one side of the field, that's not what makes Lenoir. What you're paying for, the reason you paid him a premium is because he's one of the only corners in the league who can do both. Those guys are Devin Witherspoon, Trent McDuffie, Deommodore Lenoir, and there's a few others. They do both well. So to only ask him to do one of the things he does well is to only get like half of his value. And I would really hope that Raheem Morris would use Lenoir differently this year. Put him in the action, let him shadow other teams' number one wide receivers the way he asked to, the way that Saleh wouldn't let him to. Don't let other teams dictate matchups when he's the only DB you're freaking paying for anyway.
You know, it was interesting when we asked Saleh about that. I don't remember if you were there that day, but he was
I asked him.
You asked him that question,
yeah.
and he was like, it's not so much what Lenoir can or can't do, it's what the other guys can't do when we start moving him around.
It was like the short version kind of the answer? Our nickel is 5'8" and he can't play on the outside.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you drafted him.
Yeah, maybe now that Stout's a little bit more experienced, maybe, you know, all these guys are a little bit more experienced. Maybe there's a little bit more ability to transition from spot to spot, but he seemed like that was like, no. Like we couldn't possibly do that. Good idea, but we couldn't possibly do it.
It's like he's saying, like, we might be able to do it. I just haven't taken the time to prepare the defense because I think it would be a waste of time. So I hope Raheem Morris disagrees with that. Let's talk wide receiver. So they added Christian Kirk. They added Mike Evans. They got their top 3 guys locked in with Ricky Pearsall as well. They got young guys behind him. They got Demarcus Robinson as well. But Kirk won't be on this team next year. Evans might not be on this team next year. They have an out after year 1 if it doesn't go well. And he's 33 in August. What is the plan for the future at wide receiver? Usually teams have a plan when they have a quarterback they're spending this much money on.
Yeah, I mean, you know, build Brock Purdy a fortress and go find a great receiver. Period. End of story. Now, the nice
is it Ricky?
thing,
you're saying they think it's not.
No, it's not Ricky.
Okay.
Ricky can't play 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, we're giving Ricky a lot of shots. I mean, you know, this is year 3 for Ricky. Now, we'll see if they bring Ricky back. You know, I don't know. From what I was
trading
told,
would be selling low at this point.
From what I was told, there was maybe some kind of a disagreement with his status for one game, where maybe he thought he wasn't going to go, and the Niners thought maybe he was going to go, or was at least going to get out there maybe in the pregame. And I think there might have been a miscommunication, and maybe there was some unhappy feelings there. I don't know. And I don't.
The Niners want their players to come back from injury as fast as humanly possible. God forbid you don't break a record coming back. I mean, that's what Fred Warner was trying to do and was frankly expected to do. And that's what they're expecting George Kittle to do.
Well, and it's hard because you've got guys who just will play, you know, totally wrecked, like Juwan Jennings, and then that sets a standard for what's acceptable. And then, like, in reality, Juwan Jennings just has crazy pain tolerance, and he just loves to play, needs to play, wants to play, is going to play. Where not
but
everybody
he can be effective when he's not 100% because his game isn't dependent on speed. Like, he can block, he can catch passes and get hit. Ricky is not effective if he's not fast.
Well, and in fairness to Ricky, receivers have to be healthy. You know, you can't be out there going 78%. You're not going to be good if you go 88%. You really got to be close to 100%. So I get that. I do totally get that. But it's been very frustrating. He hasn't been able to get out there. How much can they lean on him? I would just say this. You're the organization that had Jerry Rice. You're the organization that had Gene Washington. You're the organization that had Terrell Owens. You're the organization that one time even had Randy Moss kind of dogging it in the Super Bowl. You've had great receivers, and go get a great receiver. Now, you don't do it in round 1, but I think as a prime opportunity, Grant, in this draft to do this in round 2, potentially. Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper, Zachariah Branch. Tony Pauline says they really like Chris Bell. I think Chris Bell could be in play. Jeremy Bernard. Jacoby Lane from SC just had an amazing gauntlet drill at the combine. But my favorite guy is this guy, Ted Hurst from Georgia State, who's an FCS receiver who had all kinds of opportunities to get big cash and bail to, FBS schools this year and just said, no, screw it. I'm going to stay here. And he had a big year, 71 catches, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's awesome. He's a 6'4" gazelle. So there's a bunch of receivers in this draft. And, they got to figure out which of these guys is the great guy. I mean, Terrell Owens was a 3rd-round pick. This is not all readily available. Go find whoever the great guy is going to be and draft that guy.
What I would do is I would not give up on Ricky Pearsall just yet. It's been 2 years. It took Brandon Ayuk really 3 years before he came into his own. It takes a lot of wide receivers 3 years. He has had injuries. PCL injuries, no joke. He got shot in the chest. I would say give him one more chance. And because Mike Evans isn't going to be your number 1 wide receiver. He thinks he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver. He's too old for that kind of target share. Devontae Adams isn't a number 1 wide receiver anymore. He's the number 2 to Puka Nacua. If they're smart with Evans, they'll give him a responsible workload, and Ricky will be the number 1. So he'll have to rise up. That means staying healthy throughout the entire offseason, through preseason, and let's see how long he can stay healthy during the season. If he breaks down, if he doesn't, if he starts dropping, if he can't rise to the occasion, they should trade for someone else mid-season. That's what they did with Dante Pettis once upon a time. They thought he was going to be their number 1 wide receiver. They gave him chances. It didn't happen, and they traded for Emmanuel Sanders mid-season. I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners did something like that. They could trade for Jordan Addison mid-season, something like that.
It's really, the one thing about the NFL draft in, this era, there's so many teams in college that play spread that there's just a ton of receivers. I mean, I was just looking at LSU, for example. LSU is Aaron Anderson, projected to go deep on round 3. He's 5'8". He runs in the 4.3s. He's really, really exciting. They have another guy named Barryon Brown who also runs like 4.28. They got another guy who also runs in the 4.3. So, I mean, it's like, there's a lot. Kevin Coleman from Missouri runs in the 4.3s. There's all kinds of receivers. There's probably going to be, I would say there's going to be at least 25 receivers drafted in this draft. And that's, I'm not sure if to be 25 drafted. There'll be 25 that wind up on NFL teams this summer. I mean, there's a lot of volume of receivers out there, and 49ers just have to figure out a way to get the right guy, because they're going to invest in a guy. They just got to make sure they get the right guy.
A lot of pressure on Ricky this year, man. You have the opportunity to be this team's JSN. I thought in week 1 he was better than JSN, but maybe I was wrong. I mean, JSN's a great player. Ricky hasn't proven that yet. You got every opportunity this year. It's kind of like in 2012 when the Niners signed Randy Moss. That was the year that Michael Crabtree broke out. Like, Randy Moss was a complimentary player at the end of his career, and Crabtree was like 26, and the Niners fed him and fed him and fed him, and he stepped up, and they went to the Super Bowl. Ricky, you're going to be 26 this year. Is he going to be 27? Might be 27. No, he's going to be 26. See what you got, Ricky. All right, let's take some super chats. Lamont 757 says, is Bryce Young for Purdy a fair trade or for Stroud? No. Bryce Young? I wouldn't want Bryce Young. He's smaller than Purdy.
Bryce Young's tiny.
And Stroud seems like he has to get his head on straight. I don't know what's going on with him.
He was terrible.
He's not particularly mobile.
Stroud played horribly in the playoffs. They should be panicked in Houston right now.
If they had Mac Jones, they'd be Super Bowl favorites. I said what I said. M. Dallas says, Larry's, what's your read on LSU guard Dix? Oh, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying that. Did you hear? Aaron Wilson got he said that. He was like, oh yeah, that guy's great. Dixon Mayat, great player. He said he what he said? It was worse. He said it was like,
who did that?
Aaron Wilson.
Oh,
Not
that is
Aaron Wilson.
awesome.
Sorry, Aaron. What's his dude from
From where?
He's the insider. He's like in Houston. I don't need to say his
Aaron
name.
Wilson. Yeah, Aaron Wilson.
Yeah,
Oh, that is
hilarious.
awesome.
Hilarious.
Yeah, dude. Are you kidding me? Well, I like him in the late third. I don't know.
Dixon, my thank you very much. Okay, hold on. Stephen Niner says, Grant, you gotta get on Larry's level. He can name 60 names at each position. Hey, man, I don't gotta get on Larry's level.
No,
I
I'm
got
not,
Larry on my team. We play different positions.
I'm looking at my notes here too.
He's
So,
looking at his. I let him do. Justin says, I hope the Christian Kirk signing doesn't preclude them from drafting a wide receiver high in a great wide receiver class. There's 12 plus wide receivers in the consensus top 75. What I would say is the Christian Kirk signing doesn't preclude it. It's the fact that you haven't added a starting guard, you haven't added a starting defensive end, and you only have 2 picks in the top 75. So maybe if they trade, this would be a great year to trade down, Larry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you could take your first round pick, if you could pick 3 times somehow in the second round, that would probably be ideal. And then you hit all your needs, right? At that point, you could take an offensive lineman, you could take a defensive end, and you could take a receiver, all in the top, whatever. And then you got 4 picks in the fourth round to finish up. But I definitely think they'll trade back.
Grunt Bones says, I don't think they ever have traded back. Well, they traded back 1 spot for Solomon Thomas. They traded back 1 spot for Javon Kinlaw. They should trade back like a few. They should trade out of round 1. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Trade out. Yeah. Grunt Bones says, replace Kittle. He's all talk. First Super Bowl, he was mic'd up, said he would be back with the vengeance. Vengeance game consisted of 2 catches, 4 yards. Hi, George. That was just mean. There's a lot of truth to it. But why'd you have to say that, Grant? Why'd you have to take a low blow on George Kittle on March 18th?
Seriously. This man bought us shoes.
He bought us shoes. I've never worn them. They're collector's items. I will sell them to you for $8,000, Grunt. All right. Before we go, Larry, what did you think of how the Ravens treated Maxx Crosby? Hey, if you haven't seen it, Maxx Crosby has been going on podcasts and sort of giving his side of the story. It's very interesting. Larry, what'd you take from it?
Well, it's just so bizarre. I mean, you think of the Ravens, you think of a top flight organization, Ozzie Newsome and Steve Bisciotti, and now Eric DaCosta, for years, John Harbaugh. And, they're kind of personified as, they're kind of an example of a team that typically does things the right way. And a lot of people admire them. Well, they get this deal done with Maxx Crosby. They trade the 2 number 1s. You and I have been covering the Niners for long enough where we could describe literally play by play what it looks like when a player of Crosby's caliber comes to your team, to your facility, right? There's a bunch of people that are there to greet him. Usually the coach, maybe not the coach, maybe it's the GM, maybe it's neither, but it's a club person who immediately brings you into the building. You immediately meet the GM. There's a warm embrace. They get you anything you want. All right. And they kiss your butt for hours. Maxx Crosby gets traded to the Ravens. He shows up at the Ravens facility. Eric DaCosta didn't meet with him for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And when the coach came up to him, supposedly the coach was kind of nervous and kind of fidgety and was talking about his injuries and their concerns about his body and whether or not maybe he should have another surgery. Mm-hmm. And Max then went on a podcast and he kind of shared all this. And the only reason that we just know it's fact is because it's Max. Yeah. So we know that he's like being totally authentic and genuine. And their front office completely avoided Crosby. Even when he was inside their facility and was asking to meet with them, they didn't meet with him. I mean, this has got to be one of the bigger scandals in NFL history. If this were a lesser team, I think they'd be raked bad. And the Ravens are kind of one of the favored teams, it seems like, and they're all admired by the media. The Sal Palantonios of the world seem like they love the Ravens. I don't know. The league needs to investigate, though. That's bad, dude. John Lynch would be like, hey, bear hug, give him a hug, this and that. You sit down, maybe you do a little thing with their in-house reporter. You might,
to me, this isn't on DaCosta. the way I look at this is Bisciotti. This was Bisciotti, and he's done this before. And you know what? He's kind of a gangster. We've heard him talk. Is it nice what he did? No, but it was within the rules. It wasn't official yet. And I think what's clear, they made the trade, and then Trey Hendrickson was still available. And it's like, oh, he's going to be cheaper than we thought. Oh, he's going to be cheaper than Crosby. His medical is better than Crosby's. We don't even need to see the MRI to know that. Crosby's coming off a meniscus repair. Hendrickson isn't. Now, Hendrickson is older than him and doesn't play the run at all, but he is cheaper. Why don't we go that direction? So we'll just say that he failed his physical, which, debatable. I'm sure they could make the argument that he failed a physical, but clearly they had their mind made up before he walked in the building, which is too bad for Maxx. You wasted his fucking time. That's a future Hall of Fame player or borderline, and you treated him like, he's wasted his time. It sucks.
Not only that, they were kind of gangster about it because it sounds like they were maybe because it sounds like they knew about, Hendrickson said he thought that he was going to be on a team with Crosby. So maybe they were thinking, oh, we'll use Maxx to get Hendrickson aboard, then we'll engage with Hendrickson. And once we get far enough down the Hendrickson road, we'll just abort mission, regain our picks and send the Raiders into a situation that's, they're not going to get the 2 number ones. I mean, Maxx, his last statement was like, God wants me to be a Raider or something like that. He doesn't even sound like he even wants to leave, which makes me wonder if somebody could show up on day 2 of the draft. I mean, if you want to move a 2nd round pick and you want an edge rusher, what happens if you get, I don't know, an offensive lineman in the 1st round and decide to trade your 2nd round pick to the Raiders for Maxx Crosby?
Yeah, I think Maxx Crosby wants to stay. I think Tom Brady wouldn't be mad if he leaves. I think they're kind of having this internal weird power struggle over whose team it belongs to. And I think Brady's like, it's my team. I'm an owner. And Maxx is like, you're not even here. I've been here through thick and thin. I got this tatted on my chest. I'm really about it. Who the hell are you? You're a Patriot and a Niner and whoever freaking suits you at that time. So that's why I still think there's a possibility that teams could get Maxx Crosby, because I feel like Maxx behind closed doors has said things to Brady that no one has ever said, maybe other than his dad or Bill Belichick. And I don't know that Brady at his age can take it. So Maxx, keep talking shit, dude. I want to see you on the Niners. That's what I got to say.
If the Niners could get him for their price, wow, that would be something.
The big 2-5 says address the damn O-line, see right tackle and left tackle. Honestly, right tackle is fine. They need to address left guard. Center would be great. They did with Brett Toth. They have 2 centers. They don't have a starting left guard. I'd love it to be Ioane, but he's not going to be there.
He's awesome, man.
Yeah. Great
he
player.
Is awesome. I mean, seriously, there aren't too many guards that are like, whoa. But man, if the Niners could get this Venga Ioane from Penn State, oh my God, this guy is probably the safest pick in the draft, man. That's like that would be like the Yapati pick back when they, back
even
in the
better
era.
Yeah. All right, Larry, thanks so much for coming on my channel. I appreciate you so much. Make sure you check out Larry's various places: YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, X. He's everywhere, man. It's Larry freaking Krueger. Krug Show, baby. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for watching us. Have a great day.
Peace.